Hello and good morning, and welcome to the Best Football Show. I'm Brian Baldinger at Baldy NFL. Find me all over the platforms from NFL Network, NFL Media to Instagram, Twitter, X, you name it, Threads. Right here on your free Odyssey app. Download it, like it. You can find it just about daily. Today, as we get closer to the draft, in fact, the draft is 5 weeks. The draft is 5 weeks from today in Detroit. Of course, next year it's going to be in Green Bay. That's going to be something to really behold. So I'll be getting ready for the draft. But in the meantime, we really wanted to kind of go through division by division, team by team. We have done the AFC West. I started there because that's where the Super Bowl Vincent T. Lombardi Trophy lies and exists with the Kansas City Chiefs. One of those teams from the AFC North is what I want to get to today. The number one seed in the AFC going into the playoffs last year was the Baltimore Ravens, who's coming off maybe one of their best seasons ever. Obviously disappointing since they lost to Kansas City at home in the AFC Championship game. But let's look at the Baltimore Ravens because it starts really with Lamar Jackson and the MVP of this league, how he performed last year. I mean, you look at him and his completion percentage is up to 67%. Yards per attempt, over 8 yards per attempt. He threw 24 touchdowns against 7 interceptions, and he ran for 5 more. So, he counted for 29 touchdowns in his 16 starts. Didn't start the last game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers as they rested a bunch of starters. Of course, beat Houston in the playoffs and then lost, crushing defeat to Kansas City at home, where everybody just sort of shook their heads. And what were they trying to do? Why didn't they do what they do best, which is run the football? We'll see. But anyways, Todd Monken did a good job, new offensive coordinator. Mike McDonald did an excellent job coordinating the defense, number one defense in football, number one in sacks, so many different categories to get to 13-4. But he's gone. He's now the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. And Zach Orr, who played in this league a long time, had been in the Ravens regime, coaching linebackers, inside linebackers there, gets elevated to the defense coordinator position. So we don't know what Zach is going to be like. He has not been a coordinator, but, he knows what Mike has done. He knows their matchup zone concepts that they used so effectively last year. But there was a lot of changes on this team, and there always are, but there's a lot of significant changes. I mean, Mike McDonald is gone. Zach Orr is in. Patrick Queen is gone. Yesterday, we're taping this on Thursday, March 21st. I know yesterday, Jadeveon Clowney, who had 9.5 sacks, best season he's had since his Pro Bowl years in Houston, he was visiting the New York Jets, and they seem pretty excited about hosting him up there in New York. So I don't know if they're going to keep Jadeveon. And Kyle Van Noy, who signed, basically 6-7 weeks into the season, and was a key contributor down the stretch. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, you could go through all the defections. I mean, they lost 3 starters on the offensive line. They lost the starting right side, Kevin Zeitler, Morgan Moses. They lost the left guard, John Simpson. Most teams, you go, wow, those are some big holes. But the Ravens and Eric DeCosta, who learned from Ozzie Newsome, they always draft in advance. So last year they drafted Trenton Simpson out of Clemson. I thought he was a really excellent, linebacker at Clemson. Well, he didn't play last year. Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith started. But they knew they weren't going to be able to keep Patrick Queen. They knew that, they paid Roquan top money for being the inside linebacker in this league. They drafted Trenton Simpson. He played a little bit, mostly special teams. But, they knew they weren't going to keep Patrick Queen. He went to Pittsburgh. Okay. But they drafted his replacement. That's how the Ravens operate. On the offensive line, you lose Simpson. They had drafted a bunch of linemen last year. I'm going to screw up his Polynesian name, but they drafted his replacement last year. You go and you look at what Patrick McCarry does, whether he's playing left tackle or right tackle, replacing Ronnie Stanley when he gets banged up. He could play there. They drafted Andrew Voorhees last year in the 7th round. Well, I mean, he got hurt at USC, and he needed a year to rehabilitate. And now, he was projected to be a second-round pick, and he's got a year under the belt. He'll step in and play. Laulu, that's who I was thinking of. They drafted a guard last year, didn't play. Falele, they drafted. He played some when Morgan Moses got banged up. So they drafted replacements. But let's face it, like number one rush offense in football, number one defense in football, the MVP of the league. I mean, the Ravens are set up. Now they have all their picks. They've got the 30th pick in the first round. They got the 62nd pick in the second round. I mean, who knows what Eric DeCosta does? He can easily trade back. Somebody that wants to trade into that first round, get a fifth-year option on a rookie. They have done that plenty of times. They've traded back out of the first round. They've traded into the first round. They did that to draft Lamar Jackson. It was literally Ozzie Newsome's last first-round pick. I mean, he's just the best maybe that ever do it. And so all of that is just filibuster. Because in free agency, they signed Derrick Henry. I don't know that there was a more perfect fit for a team than Derrick Henry leaving Tennessee and coming to Baltimore. You can look at Derrick's numbers, and they were declining numbers in Tennessee. Just look at his offensive line and what he had to work with, all the injuries that they've had, starting with when Taylor Lewan went down. They drafted Skoronski, and but the guys got hurt. And so it was just a slippery slope. Changes at general manager, changes at coaches, changing at coordinators. There's just so many changes in Tennessee. Derrick Henry is bringing that 245-pound body to Baltimore, where they ran the ball last year 55% of the time, the most in the NFL. Like, you're going to put him behind a system that has, a built-in system where, okay, Lamar Jackson runs for 821 yards last year, 5.5 yards a clip on read options and reverses and quarterback keepers and just so many different ways that they run it. And so when you look at this team, he's a perfect fit for him. And look, they lose Gus Edwards, but okay, like Derrick Henry's a better player than Gus Edwards. And I just think you're going to get some splits because who's got the ball? Is it Lamar? Is it Derrick Henry? Is it play action off it to Zay Flowers, who had an excellent rookie season, maybe the best first-round wide receiver that the Ravens have ever drafted, led the team in receptions last year. Tremendous player. So I think that Derrick Henry coming on board, I mean, the Ravens, to me, look like they're still the team to beat in the AFC North. Now, Joe Burrow should be healthy this year. We'll get to Cleveland next. Pittsburgh has made changes at quarterback, but the one constant is Lamar Jackson at quarterback in Baltimore wins a heck of a lot of regular season games. And look, they beat Houston in the playoffs last year. They didn't beat Kansas City. Kansas City was led by their defense. That's a hurdle. Other teams have stumbled at the feet of the Kansas City Chiefs. Cincinnati has. Buffalo has. Some good teams in the AFC have stumbled at the feet of the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the stability that they have. But that's what you have in Baltimore. You have major stability all over the place. They haven't had to replace their coordinators, and they've been upgraded. Todd Monken was an upgrade. We'll see what Zach Orr can do. My next team, looking up at Baltimore, is the Cleveland Browns. And mind you, the AFC North last year did not have a team with a losing record. Baltimore's 13-4. Cleveland was 11-6. Pittsburgh was 10-7. Cincinnati was 9-8. Everybody had a winning record. Everybody beat everybody up. Baltimore was 3-3 in the division. Cleveland was 3-3 in the division. I mean, everybody sort of beats everybody up. But the Cleveland Browns went 11-6 last year, and they lost Nick Chubb, the best running back in the league. Maybe the only running back in the history of the league to average 5 yards or more per carry for 5 straight years in a row. And they lose him the second week of the season. Jerome Ford was fine. He averaged 4 yards a carry, gave them what they needed. But their passing game with 5 quarterbacks took off. David Njoku had his best year ever, led the team in receptions, had 6 touchdown catches. Amari Cooper had his best year ever, over 1,200 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns, averaged 17.5 yards a catch. He never averaged 17 yards a catch, ever. Oakland, Dallas, Cleveland, he had his best year. So 5 quarterbacks produced the best receiving year for Njoku, for Amari. We saw the rookie Cedric Tillman come in, make some plays. And now they went out and signed Jerry Jeudy. I don't know what's going to happen to Amari. I don't know. Is Amari on the roster next year? He's, his contract's basically $20 million a year, which is top of the line for any receiver in this business. But he's coming off his best year. Joe Flacco came in and won, 4 out of 5 starts, came in during the Ram game and then went on a tear and won 4 in a row and was the hero of that organization after Dorian Thompson-Robinson and, all the things that we saw last year after Deshaun Watson started 6 games. Deshaun was 5-1 in his 6 starts, but, he did not play great. They did win 5 games. They do have the defensive MVP of the league in Myles Garrett. That was up for debate, but Myles had a great season. Zadarius Smith was re-signed. He was an important cog. Dalvin Tomlinson was a good signing in free agency. They lost a linebacker in Andrew Walker in free agency, but they signed Jordan Hicks, who's a playmaking linebacker. Jim Schwartz, I believe I'm right. I believe Jim Schwartz had Jordan Hicks in Philadelphia when he was the defensive coordinator there. So there's familiarity there. But defensively, this team was excellent. They gave up the fewest yards in the league. They were number 1 in the league on 3rd downs. Teams converted less than 29% of the attempts on 3rd down against this defense. They were a heavy press man team. Denzel Ward, like all of the corners, were outstanding. So they're going to return intact. This is a very talented football team. And Jim Schwartz was a big part of it. They were the 11th ranked defense as far as points given up. But offensively, they were the number 10th offense. They signed DeJuan Jones in the 4th round out of Ohio State. He looks like he's going to be the right tackle there for a long time. They're still as good as anybody inside. Wyatt Teller, Batonio, they're still as good as anybody inside. So what does Cleveland do with their 1st round pick? They don't have one, right? That was all, I think, part of the Deshaun Watson deal. They have a 2nd round pick. They have a 3rd and a 5th. They only have 5 picks, but they kind of rebuilt this team in free agency with Jeudy, with Jordan Hicks. So all of those things are good signings. They signed Jameis Winston to be the backup, but then they also, signed Tyler Huntley. So they're collecting, and they have Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Are they going to keep all 4 quarterbacks? I don't know. That would be bizarre. I don't think any team has 4 quarterbacks on the roster, but they've got 4 right now. We'll see. But they played 5 last year, so maybe they're just preparing for, what happened a year ago. So Cleveland, man, 11-6 and playoff team and all that kind of good stuff. We got to see. We got to see just what the future holds. And if Deshaun Watson, with another offseason, another year removed from all of the turmoil that he created, maybe he settles down and gets back to really the type of career he was building in Houston. Because if he gets back to that level, I saw him on one leg basically beat the Baltimore Ravens like week 6 or 7 last year. And he was on one leg and bad ankle injury. But man, you saw the grit, you saw the competitive fire and the athletic ability. If he gets back to form, this could be a very, very good football team because they don't have a lot of holes. They really don't. I mean, there's corners and safeties and linebackers are in their front. They're nasty, and they play probably as much man-to-man coverage as any team in this league. And, the San Francisco 49ers came in undefeated last year at 5-0, and they ran into that type of coverage, and they struggled, and they lost. That was the first loss of the season last year. So I think that Myles Garrett returning got that MVP thing out of his system. He doesn't have to worry about that. He can just go play football. He's got that hardware in his, his sports chest that he can say that I did that, and now he could just go and dominate the way he's capable of dominating. But look, Kevin Stefanski did a great job. Hiring Jim Schwartz was really smart. This is a great division. We will get to both Pittsburgh and Cincinnati in my next football show. Promise to go into depth with them, but these are two teams that are very, very good. Joe Flacco, we came off the couch out of Audubon, New Jersey. He came and he joined a very talented football team. And I think it's the best division in football. We'll see if Baltimore can remain on top of the perch. And like I said, when I see you next time, we'll be talking Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. That's been the Best Football Show. Appreciate you tuning in. Look forward to talking to you real soon.